Hi. So, part two of my Lyme disease story. Hopefully, you were able to watch the first part. If not, get your butt over there and watch the first part of my video and subscribe to my channel, please. I would really love that. But so, where I ended was I'm looking at a calendar on my phone to try and keep my brain in order. But, where I ended was August 2013, and that was when I first started seeing my Lyme disease specialist, who I am also still with. Love her. She's so great. But so when I was seeing, sorry, when I was seeing her, I was actually just about to I think I was just about to, no, I was starting college, or I was in college then. So it was all just kind of like a crazy whirlwind. I didn't really know like what was going on with me. But like everything just like didn't feel right. And I always knew that something was wrong still, but having like the Lyme disease diagnosis was huge, but it was still just like, okay, so I went from May with a diagnosis, and now I'm in August and I'm still not better. And typically you would think, yeah, you should be better by now, but things were just like still getting worse. But I was going to school in New Hampshire at Colby Sawyer College for nursing. So I was not about to like give up that dream of mine, and I figured that I can push myself, you know. I wasn't gonna let this illness get in the way. So I was going to school with taking all this medication and everything, and I was managing it pretty well. But things like just still slowly like kept getting worse and everything, and I guess I just kind of like refused to like accept what was going on. I was raised to like really push myself and, you know, be like the best that I can be and everything, but I don't know, it just, things like weren't working out for me. So I can't remember. I think I took 2 different breaks from school. And the first time, I think it was when I first got a PICC line put in. We were hoping that being on IV antibiotics that things were going to start looking up for me, but unfortunately it wasn't. But when I first got on the IV antibiotics, I think I was like 3 months into it. I started on Rocephin and Flagyl, which is super typical. I started to see a new PCP, primary care doctor, and she was one of those doctors that did not believe in chronic Lyme disease. So she decided to run her own blood test and decided to pull me into the office and tell me that it was all a lie and I didn't have Lyme disease, and that my doctor was lying to me, and all that was wrong with me was that I had mono. And I just remember losing it. I literally, like, I feel like I like blacked out that day. I was just in hysterics, and thank God my brother was with me that day and was driving me, because that was like one of the biggest panic attacks I had ever had. It was like, what do you do? Or like, how do you feel when somebody, a doctor, tells you that another doctor has been lying to you for so long now, and that this is all a lie and I'm really fine and it's all in my head? And I was a wreck. I didn't know that this was something that was very typical for people with Lyme disease, having doctors and different people like tell you that it's all a lie, because Lyme disease is so, it's so difficult to even like explain, but it's like such a disease that doesn't have enough attention brought to it really, or enough awareness. And I guess just really like a lack of knowledge really is out there about Lyme disease. So kind of like why I'm trying to share my story so much and be so open about it all, because I wish that I had somebody during that time that I knew that was going through this as well and could have told me that, hey, this is super typical. You're going to be fine. You do have Lyme disease. You know, some doctors just don't believe that Lyme disease can be chronic and so fatal. But so I obviously stopped seeing that doctor, but that doctor was what kind of brought about like a huge other whirlwind for me and so much stress. It definitely took a toll on my family, with people not wanting to believe that I was sick and other doctors telling me that it was all a lie and stuff. I saw one doctor that was really high up on the ladder of the CDC, and the day that I went and saw him, I actually had scratch marks all over my body, especially on my back, but I had them on my face too and on my scalp, and I had like hives all over my legs, and which was like good because I was like, hey, like, look at this, doc, clearly something is going on with me, and that something was a co-infection, Bartonella, which I knew I already had and I tested positive for. But the doctor decided to ignore all of that, and he was like, your blood work is fine. You don't have Lyme disease. Your doctor's lying to you, and it's all in your head. You're a hypochondriac. You just want attention. And I remember just looking at the guy, and I was like, I ripped off my shirt in his office, and I was like, what about this? Like, what about all these scratch marks on me? You're telling me that this is all in my head? And he looked at my mom and he said that your daughter needs a psychiatric evaluation, and that I was scratching myself and somehow giving myself hives as well. So bet your ass we marched right out of that office and we never looked back. But from that point, I ended up, I stopped my antibiotics for, I think it was another 3 months I stopped the antibiotics for, because I wanted to clean out my whole system and get a fresh new take of blood work and see where I was at. And it was something that I did not want to do, and looking back, I wish I didn't do it, because the only reason why I was doing it was to prove myself to people that really I shouldn't have had to ever prove myself to, and their opinions honestly shouldn't have mattered to me. And I'm learning to not worry about what other people think or say or anything about my illness and stuff, because, only you know your body and what's going on with you. So always listen to yourself. Don't ever let anybody tell you that you don't know what you're talking about, or you're a hypochondriac or anything like that. But anyways, so I stopped everything, and I got new blood work 3 months later. Thankfully, my Lyme doctor stuck it out with me the whole time, and she was there supporting me and everything. But we did new blood work, and everything came back so much worse. I had so many other co-infections, so many other viruses, and it set me back so far. And sometimes I wonder if that's why I still am so sick. Lyme disease was hidden in my body for so many years, and of course it's going to take so many more years to hopefully get myself into remission. But allowing other people to have such a big influence on, I guess, my health, I wish I never did. But oh well, you live and you learn, right? So anyways, I jumped right back on the antibiotics, and I've been through the Rocephin, the Flagyl, Zithromax, clindamycin, doxycycline, meropenem, and a few other IV antibiotics as well. And I have honestly been allergic to over half of them. And it's so weird because I can go like 3 months on something and have no reaction, be totally fine. And then one morning I wake up and I am covered head to toe in hives. So that's been like a struggle for sure. I've developed a histamine intolerance, or like a histamine problem, which is a bummer too, but it just goes to show you how Lyme disease can become so autoimmune. So like my body is just fighting against itself constantly, which is obviously hurting me healing, but I guess that's like autoimmune diseases for you. So I ended up trying to go back to school with having the PICC line in, and I made it for a little bit, but then things just kept getting worse and really difficult. One of the nights that I went back, the night before classes, I ended up blacking out in my room by myself. So that was super scary. It was one of the first times that had happened, and I obviously missed my classes all the next day, and I had to go talk with my professors, and they were just like, listen, you're a liability, honestly, going into clinicals and having a PICC line and everything. It's going to be something that's really difficult, and that was super hurtful. And I see where they came from and their point and everything, but being told that I wasn't good enough to participate in clinicals and I wasn't good enough to become a nurse definitely threw down my confidence, I guess you can say. I was pretty much a straight A student, so being told that one of my professors told me that all of my classmates were on the top of the trees and they were all soaring and flourishing or something like that, and I was actually below the tree and I was in the dirt and I was not thriving and I would not thrive, and she didn't think that I was going to be able to make it. And it was a super harsh reality, I guess. I knew that it would be tough for me to partake in clinicals and everything like that, but I was up for it. But apparently that just was not, I guess, in my cards at that time. So ever since then, I have not returned to school. I've been home. I'm on disability now because I'm not able to work, and I don't like it. I hate being on disability, but I guess that's life for you. But so I feel like this video is already like so long, so I probably should make a little part 3, I guess, but and dive deeper into like my symptoms and everything. So hopefully this video gives you a little bit more insight of my story, and if you have any questions, want me to touch upon anything else or whatever, please feel free to send me a message or leave a comment. I so appreciate all of the following that I've gained so far, and I hope to gain more of a following and hopefully help some other people out there. But thank you for listening, and please be sure to subscribe.